Hey, everybody. Lieutenant Joe here for the Blue Heart Podcast. We talk about a lot of things here on our program, but I had a couple of emails in my book, The Interview. Let me see, it's over there, The Interview. There's something that I'll be adding to the next edition. Now, I teach about it in my class, and I've talked about it, but I need to include it in the book. And I want to thank everybody that emailed me. Joe@pangarotraining.com is how you reach me here. Questions asked about a technique that I call boxing in. Boxing in, like boxing. So I'm going to take a couple minutes today to try and explain it. It's a short, quick little lesson, but I think it's going to be very, very helpful for you whenever you talk to somebody out in the street, a custodial interview, anywhere. The technique of boxing in. So I'm going to stop. I want to thank our sponsors, Blue 360 Media, my publisher. We're starting a whole new training division. You want to go there and check it out. Riot Tint. These people are excellent for safety and security equipment. Go take a look. And Medical Essential Diagnostics. All right, medicalessentialdiagnostics.com. They come in, if you're anybody in any kind of a New Jersey state employee, township, county, state, doesn't matter. If you're in government employee in New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey, you can go to them, you and two adults, and you can get a full health screening. Doesn't cost you anything. Find out you're healthy. So I want to thank all of them for helping us to be here. All right, so the idea of boxing in and what that means. So a lot of times we will talk to somebody, say you get a call of a suspicious person, right? And you're going to run up on them and you see them, they're behind maybe they're behind a closed business, or they're in an industrial park, or they're in an area that they shouldn't be. There's no business going on. There's no people there. Who is this person? Are they looking for a way to get in? Are they looking to break into something? Or are they just walking through? We want to find out what we're doing here. So when we talk to someone in law enforcement, we have a tendency sometimes to accept the things that people say to us as answers when they're not really answers. All right. What do you do behind the building? Oh, I live around here. Now that sounds like an answer, but it's really not an answer. What was the question you asked? You asked, what were you doing behind the building? And they say, oh, I live around here. Well, and it sounds like an answer, but it's not. So we have to pay attention to the things that people say and make sure we respond back to them appropriately by saying, well, that's not what I asked you. I asked you, what are you doing behind this building here? Not where do you live, right? So the idea of boxing in is that because we will often take someone's answer and we're trying to think quickly to get to the next thing we want to say, because we're trying to catch people in a lie. We're trying to see if they're trying to determine if they're being deceptive with us or if they're being truthful. And they'll say something to us that later on in the investigation, when you find facts that countermand what they said to you out in the street on your recording or in your interview, and you bring it up to them, they'll go, oh, I didn't understand what you meant. And then they give you a different answer. Right. And then you could miss out on a lot of important things. So I'm going to give you an example. All right, we talked about stopping somebody behind a building, but how about this? Say there's an incident that happens at a local 7-Eleven or some other convenience store in your community. It's in the morning, a lot of people coming and going, and somebody goes in and grabs the coin thing off the counter, ends up fighting with a clerk, punching them and taking off, right? So now we have a robbery, right? Because they're fighting with somebody as they flee out the door and they're stealing at the same time. Now you get a suspect and you find this person and you start talking to them. Hey, how are you? I'm Officer Joe. I'm investigating an incident, right? Because remember, when we talk about in the interview, we want to diminish the words we use, right? So we're not going to say, we're talking about a robbery. Who wants to talk about a robbery? Talk about a theft. We don't talk about a theft. We talk about an incident. So we diminish the words we use. That's the first thing to keep in mind. So we're going to say, listen, we talk about an incident that happened this morning at the 7-Eleven. We talked to a bunch of people and several people said they saw you there. And that's why I'm here talking to you. All right. So now this person okay, so what about it? I wasn't at 7-Eleven today. Now that's the first thing they tell you. I wasn't there. All right. So we know that in interview, when we talk with people, a lot of times the conversation will go like, I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't there. I didn't do anything. And if you keep talking to them and you have other facts that indicate that they might be involved, the conversation could evolve into, well, I was there, but I didn't do anything. And then it can go from I was there and I did something, but I did it for an innocent reason or a good reason. And eventually you hope that your conversation, your interview skills will get you to the point where, well, I was there and I did do something and it was criminal. And I'm going to admit to you what I did. So what happens? We get this person, we say, listen, some people said that they saw you. There's a guy named Jones that says he knows you and you were at the 7-Eleven this morning. Now, he doesn't know if you did anything, but he saw you there and that's why I'm talking to you. And the person says, oh, I wasn't at 7-Eleven. Say, oh, okay. Well, how do you get to work every day? Because I know where you live. You told me where you live and you work over here. How do you get to work? Uh, I usually I drive. I drive to work. And how do you drive to work? I go to Highway 35. I go Sunset Avenue, and then I go into Asbury Park. Oh, okay. So you go to Sunset Avenue. That's where the 7-Eleven is. Did you happen to go to the 7-Eleven today? No, I told you I wasn't at the 7-Eleven. So a lot of times if we stop right there and we start asking about more crime questions kind of things, instead of clearing this up first, because they're telling you, I wasn't there. I was not at the 7-Eleven. So the boxing in technique means you're gonna try and lock them into their story so that even later on, when they're presented with different facts at trial or with their attorney or in any other part of the case, they can't change the fact that they weren't there, right? So you might see something like later on, there's two witnesses that say they know you personally and you were there. And you say, oh, I did go past there that day, and I saw a friend of mine and I pulled over. Maybe that's why they saw me there. Well, initially they told you they weren't there at all. Now you give them different facts. Somebody saw them there, and suddenly their story goes, oh, when you first talked to me, I said I wasn't there because I forgot. I did see somebody I know, and I pulled over to say hi to them. So the whole idea is that we want to knock out anything that they can possibly say later on other than to stick to their story. So we want to give them opportunities, right? We want to give them opportunities to think about it. So you do some of the thinking for them. And the way we do that would be, okay, so listen, you said you weren't at the 7-Eleven at all. Is that what you're telling me? So think about it. It was just this morning. And you drive past, or you didn't go on Sunset Avenue that day? You took a different street? How come? I think there was an accident on the corner, so I went around. So you didn't even go anywhere near the 7-Eleven today. No, I didn't. Is it possible that you're not remembering? You're confusing this morning with a different day. Because I checked and there was no accident on the highway that would have prevented you from coming down Sunset Avenue. Now they're thinking, yeah, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe it wasn't today, but I didn't go in the 7-Eleven. I didn't go in the 7-Eleven. Okay. Now we have people that say they saw you at the 7-Eleven. Is it possible that as you were going past this 7-Eleven, you saw somebody you knew standing out front and you pulled over to say hi to them? No, man, I told you I didn't go in there. Is it possible that you pulled in there and you were going to get a cup of coffee or something, a pack of cigarettes, whatever, and you decided you were late and you took off and you just went to work? Is that possible? No, man, I said I wasn't there. Is it possible that you parked near the 7-Eleven and you went to the store next door? And that's why somebody said they saw you at the 7-Eleven. So you get the idea? You want to knock out every possible thing they could come up with later when you now have video of them coming in the store and you present it to them. Hey, look at this. That's you going in the 7-Eleven. You know, Oh my gosh, I forgot. I saw a friend of mine out front and I said, "Hey, let me just stop and say hi to him. I got a couple of minutes." See, so they come up with this, they change their facts to fit the information that comes up later on. So you want to box them in to their story by coming up with everything you can think of as to a reason why they might have been seen at that 7-Eleven. And you can use that for any instance. Any instance at all. Is it possible that somebody saw you at the beach that day because you were driving by and you looked out and you saw some ships and you liked the ocean? Is it possible that you pulled over to see if the fishing was any good? Is it possible you pulled over and had a flat tire? Whatever reason you could think of that somebody might have stopped at your crime location and you offer that to them, not in an accusatory way, but in a way that's, let me run this idea past you, this idea past you. So just like I tell you in the interview, and you should get the book, it's from Blue 360 Media, or you can get it at Amazon.com. What I tell you is the big four, right? We diminish the words we use. We offer possibilities. Possibilities are not excuses, but they are things that are more societally acceptable for the person to agree to, as opposed to agreeing that they did a crime or something bad. Then we offer alternative reasons that could have been, and then we show compassion, right? Those are the big four, and you'll get that all in the book. That's why you should get it. All right. So the whole idea here is boxing in means you, the investigator, the officer, have to think and say to yourself, okay, I had a robbery at the 7-Eleven. I have a suspect name. I'm talking to the suspect. And if I just say, were you there? And they say, I wasn't. And then you're going to go round and round with other stuff. You're missing out because later on, look at the video I got. Oh man, here's why I was there. You get it? I don't think we have to go round and round with this. But keep that in mind. Box them into their story. Cut off all avenues of escape in a proper way when you're talking to somebody. And that's going to help you as new facts come to light. And then you'll start to see that their story changes. And what do we say all the time? The truth is the truth. And if you're telling the truth, your story's really not going to change. When your story starts changing, you're being deceptive. And people are deceptive for a reason. They're trying to hide something from you. That can mean guilt or it can be something else, but it's not the truth. All right, so this is Lieutenant Joe telling you, remember, box them in, do a good job when you're out there in the street, think on your feet, and get to the truth. All right, thanks to all our sponsors. We appreciate it. Remember, subscribe, like, tell your friends about the channel. We have more and more and more stuff coming. Talk to you soon.